Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm really pleased to be here today representing the World Bank Group, both the World Bank and the IFC, the International Finance Corporation. The World Bank Group, as you know, is a key implementing partner of the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative. And I'm even more pleased to announce and introduce this session as women's economic empowerment and women's leadership in the private and in the public sector are key to our mission. Let me maybe start by just reminding everyone why supporting women entrepreneurs is important. And I might give you a couple of numbers. We've heard some data this morning, and you heard it during the day, but let me remind you that women across the globe miss out on over $160 trillion in lifetime earnings simply due to the gender pay gap. So we owe this not just to women, but to society overall, that we eliminate the barriers that hold women back. In developing countries alone, women-owned small and medium-sized enterprises face an estimated credit deficit of nearly $1.5 trillion. It's really difficult for women in those countries to start or sustain or grow a business in the absence of this amount of capital. So I'm here today because at the World Bank Group, we believe in women entrepreneurs as change agents and as drivers of economic growth. Unfortunately, we are not alone. All of you here show that commitment to the same cause. Later in this session, you will hear from two very inspiring women in business. One is Daniele Henkel, who is the WIFI leadership champion and a strong advocate for women's economic independence. The other one is Dina El-Shenoufy, who with her organization fosters and invests in entrepreneurs with cutting-edge ideas in the region. Across the region and across the globe, government leaders, the private sector, and other stakeholders are waking up to recognize the potential power of female entrepreneurs. Through its broad network of implementing partners, donors, governments, and allies in the private sector, WIFI has quickly become a powerful catalyst for this agenda. So it's a really timely event today. I will focus this few minutes on stage on the barriers that we need to overcome and what is our role and what is your role in overcoming these barriers. Helping women to start and grow their businesses requires tackling three things mainly: tackling economic barriers, addressing human development gaps, but also social and cultural norms. It also requires partnerships to build an ecosystem that supports these women across the many dimensions of their economic lives. Let me break down the main barriers and talk a little bit about them. Let me talk first about access to finance. In MENA, about 56% of men have a formal bank account, but only 38% of women do. And then we found, interestingly, that when it comes to microfinance, so the very small companies, women actually traditionally make the greater number of entrepreneurs, about between 50 to 70% of women who are clients of microfinance institutions. But when we look at bigger firms, companies a little bit bigger, suddenly that ratio of 50 or 70% falls. And when we look at financing for small and medium companies, women-led companies only get 20 to 30% of the pie. So there's clearly something that needs to be addressed. Through IFC's MENA Women Banking Champions program, we continue to invest in banks to provide this much-needed access to finance in the region. We have also partnered with Bank Al-Ittihad, and I note that its managing director will be on the panel today, to reach more female entrepreneurs in Jordan, for example. And we provide them financial and non-financial services. In each of these projects, there are women, like the entrepreneurs that you will see here today, that are proving their potential and reversing the biases that have held back women-led businesses. For example, in Lebanon, we saw 66% increase in the number of women SME borrowers. The return of these assets consistently outperformed the men's segment. This is not just the right thing to do, it's also the good thing to do in terms of business. The subtitle of this session, as you know, is New Solutions to Overcoming Barriers. In a rapidly changing environment, new innovative solutions are required to crowd in more partners and more financing. Let me give you an example outside of the region. In Indonesia, we had with the Wi-Fi support, a bank called OCBC NISP that issued a 100 million privately placed gender bond. IFC subscribed to this bond fully. This is the first gender bond issued in Indonesia and one of the first private sector gender bonds in East Asia. The bond will be dedicated to financing women entrepreneurs and women-owned SMEs. This type of innovation is something that we need to replicate, grow, and develop further around the globe. So I talked about access to finance, but beyond access to finance, the second barrier that we need to address is access to market gap. And women entrepreneurs find it much harder than men to access markets to sell their goods and services. We heard it this morning. Women entrepreneurs own 30% of registered businesses worldwide, but large corporations source just 1% of the inputs from those businesses. So there's a huge gap that needs to be really addressed. Corporations can have an enormous impact on women entrepreneurship by making their supply chains more inclusive. And we have two corporations represented here today on the panel that are doing exactly that. Digital technologies can empower women and increase market access. The internet lowers entry costs for SMEs to trade online and brings women and producers and traders closer to the markets. I'm very pleased to mention that the World Bank and UPS Corporate are announcing a partnership to help women entrepreneurs in the Middle East and the North Africa region to increase their sales through more efficient shipping with e-commerce platforms. And finally, let me also talk another barrier, which is the lack of access to networks and mentoring. Because studies have shown that men have more social connections that enable them to access business opportunities, information, and investors than do women. And connected to that, they have better access to seed capital than startups when they need to grow. What is interesting is that new research shows that women entrepreneurs actually lead 50% of the startups that participate in accelerators entities. And as you know, these accelerators are designed to train and support the development of startups. So it's 50%. So the gender balance seems right. But unfortunately, when it comes to actually raising funds, only 11% of enterprises that reach seed funding are women-led. So there's a gap between this knowledge being provided and then the access that they get to seed funding. And to address this gap, IFC, with support of Wi-Fi, is launching a very interesting program called ScaleX, and we're launching it today. This program will incentivize emerging markets accelerators that work with women-led businesses by providing a bonus for every woman entrepreneur that raises startup funding from investors. These performance-linked payments will encourage accelerators to spend extra time and effort to help women entrepreneurs raise that first investment. IFC is very proud to be part of this initiative. So in closing, when we meet inspiring and high-potential women entrepreneurs, like there's so many of you here today in this room, we should have an answer. How can we help you? How can we help you get better access to finance? How can you help you get more opportunities to enter national and international markets? And how can we help you provide better networks and business connections? So you will listen later in the panel today, very inspiring women entrepreneurs that will, and partners that will give us some ideas. And I really hope that what you will hear today will encourage all of you to continue your businesses, to grow them, to create jobs, and contribute to the economic development. So we are working with all our partners to enable this, and we're very proud to be part of this initiative. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dina El-Shenoufy, Editor-in-Chief of Business News at Sky News Arabia. حضورنا الكريم، رحبوا معي بلبنى البوضة، إعلامية في سكاي نيوز عربية.
Everyone, I know I look a little bit different from the picture behind me, but I have to tell you I was 9 months pregnant in this picture. You can tell from my nose, it's like triple the size. I never understood the connection between you getting pregnant and your nose getting bigger. And I will never tell you about the 20, 40 pounds extra I was carrying around. Never mind. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you and to be part of this event and moderate a panel on the power of women's entrepreneurship. But before that, I'm going to introduce you to two inspiring ladies. They have made a difference in business. Dina El-Shenoufy, right? The Chief Investment Officer of Flat 6 Labs. It's a venture capital fund. And Daniele Henkel, a businesswoman who built a business empire in Canada from nothing. And she's also a Wi-Fi leadership champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Dina and Daniele.
Wow, it's bright. Good afternoon, everyone. Gives me great pleasure to be with you all here today. My name is Dina El-Shenoufy, and I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Flat 6 Labs, the leading accelerator and seed fund manager in the MENA region. Standing here, I know I'm given a fantastic opportunity to tell my story. But really, currently, my story is only that of all the fantastic entrepreneurs that I'm working with, all achieving phenomenal results every day. Flat 6 Labs was launched 9 years ago, and since then, we've supported over 1,000 entrepreneurs, males and females, to achieve their ambitions. Their ambitions was to improve their lives and that of others. Every single one of them has inspired me, taught me something new, or pushed me to work harder for their sake and mine. I don't think anyone here needs convincing of the numerous merits of entrepreneurship. Job creation, economic activity, social impact, environmentally friendly solution, and also definitely financial returns. But for me, I think our nation's greatest assets are really the individuals behind it all. So let me introduce you and allow me to shed the light on a few of the extraordinary female entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure to work with. In telling you their stories, you'll hopefully understand what inspires me and drives me. So let me start with the glamorous Amani, founder of Dabshi, one of the leading Tunisian startups. Dabshi, which means in Tunisian, my stuff, is a marketplace allowing every girl and guy to buy, sell, or trade any item in their wardrobe. You'd meet Amani, and you'd immediately understand why she does that. She's always on point with the latest fashion trends, puts us all to shame. But Amani quit her very high-paying and stable consultancy job to turn her passion for fashion into a very successful marketplace. The secret to her success? She decided to target the majority of fashion lovers, unlike the many online and established platforms that target this ultra-high-end and also ultra-high price tag items. And that made Dabshi currently the leading and #1 largest fashion online store in Tunisia. In 2019 alone, they have succeeded in facilitating 30,000 transactions and attracting close to 400,000 users. And they're not stopping there. They've already launched in Morocco and Algeria, and soon to conquer the Saudi and Egyptian markets. Next, there's Dua. Dua is the founder of a company called Shifa out of Egypt. Dua was unfortunately a young cancer patient herself. She's good, alhamdulillah, and she's all well now, but she struggled at the time to find her medication. So she decided to turn her own problem into a solution for everyone. So she started an app that allows all chronic disease patients to schedule their medication right to their front doors. In under 18 months, Dua has managed to establish a network of 1,000 pharmacies spread all over Egypt, and to date has fulfilled more than 200,000 transactions. And she's still managing to grow at 20% monthly. This, by no means, is an easy feat in Egypt. And I can't end today without mentioning the beautiful Hind and Maryam. Hind and Maryam are dreamers. They have started a revolutionary startup out of Egypt called Reform Studios, which uses recycled plastic to create some of the most fashionable fashion items and furniture. These are just some of their products, very varied, including that rug and plastic bag, which they've created for IKEA Africa. They sold out in days. Hind and Mariam joined Plastics Labs Cairo fresh out of college, full of ambitions and dreams, very optimistic. They hit a few realities and quite a bit of challenges. Securing raw material, convincing the talent, competing with the more established furniture houses. What do? They decided to create their own world. They created their own mini workshop where they taught these low-skilled men and females how to use their patented plastic threads to weave them on those traditional Egyptian looms. They spent time and effort speaking with the low, small-time carpenters to teach them how to create their very, very innovative products. And they oversaw the production of every single unit themselves to ensure their high standards. I really, really encourage you all to find them on social media and follow their latest collections. Really, I could spend hours here speaking about so many stories of so many extraordinary females. They're all very different, but they all have, without a fail, quite a few similar attributes. Strong conviction, perseverance, tenacity, and they're all really very stubborn. It's probably what makes them successful, right? But unfortunately, today, and in our part of the world, less than 10% of startups are launched by female founders. All of us here today need to work together to change this. It's funny, but when I joined Plastics Labs almost a decade ago now, my biggest concern was that I'd be limiting myself to a very, very niche and specific industry. But little did I know that I'm just joining a wave of the new leaders that are to shape all of our futures. Thank you all very much.
Hi, my name is Daniele Henkel, and I am the founder of Daniele Henkel Enterprises. I am honored and truly blessed to be here today. I hope that my story will inspire you. I was born in 1956 in Morocco to a Jewish mother and a Catholic German father. I was baptized Catholic. I grew up with a constant feeling of fear and not belonging anywhere. But inside of me, I knew that by resilience, passion, and perseverance, I was unstoppable. I never knew my father. He disappeared before I was born while serving in the French army in Morocco. My mother was a single mother, and could not read or write, but she was an exceptional businesswoman. She taught me everything I had to learn for life. And then she became, and she is still, my true inspiration. At 14 years old, my mother was wrongly accused of a crime. When she was released 3 days later, she was a broken woman. We lost everything. We left Morocco to go to Algeria. At 19, I was told to marry a man 11 years older than me. He was from a conservative Muslim family. I had 4 amazing children with Ahmed, and I grew to love and respect him because he never tried to change who I was. In 1989, with the rise of extremism in Algeria, we decided, and because I feared for the safety of my family, we decided to leave and to immigrate to Canada. We settled in Quebec. Life was not easy, far from it. Some days I could barely afford one meal to my family. But I had that little voice inside of me telling me that I could be and do much more. So thank you. So one day I had this great idea. The idea that I should find that beauty ritual inspired by the North African hammam and bring it to the Canadian market. So I started my research and my journey began. I kept getting refusals from everywhere. Banks, suppliers, no had become my new reality. So I decided I was never going to take another no again. So I harassed the manufacturer until they decide to produce 1,500 exfoliating gloves just to test the market and to give me time to pay them back. Then I needed a printer to make the packaging. When I found one, he wouldn't give me credit. So I decided to go every day for 1 week and to sit in his waiting room. When he would see me, he would roll his eyes and walk away. And one day he finally stopped and said, "I can't believe it. It's like if nothing is impossible for you." He became my printer for more than 10 years until he passed away. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Oh, my God. In 1997, Daniele Henkel Enterprises was born from a basement to a 900 square feet office. Today, Daniele Henkel has its own building, 2 warehouses, and my family, my children are working in the company. Yes. When I look back over the last 25 years of my company, I ask myself, what am I the most proud of? Yes, I went from rags to riches. I have sold millions of the exfoliating gloves. I have brought in products, technologies that respect the body, the mind, and the environment. I have created 80 franchises throughout Quebec that only women work in. But when I look back, and what I am the most proud of is that the company I have built respects and reflects who I am, the woman I wanted to grow into. I was welcomed in Canada and in Quebec when I had nothing. So today, I am proud to be able to give back. I am an advocate for women everywhere. And in 2018, I was named and honored to be one of the Women Entrepreneur Finance Initiative Champion, Leadership Champion, and I am helping to support and promote women's economic empowerment in developing countries. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is only one thing I'd like you to remember today, it's to never forget that the impossible can become possible. I am, and my story is the proof of that, and I hope that yours will be too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.